Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Peter Schrappen. I am the co-host of Seattle Boat Show Live, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Mark Bunzel, the Fresh Prince of Boating in the Puget Sound area. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Peter. How are you?
It's been a while.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Right back at you. Are you a New Year's resolution kind of guy?
Oh God, don't remind me. Going on camera, I feel like I have my COVID-19 showing. So you can imagine what my resolution is. So, like many, I've decided that I need to get back in shape for the 2021 boating season.
This is going to be our year, Mark. I just feel it. I feel it in my bones for sure. Well, yeah, I saw you a few weeks ago, or maybe it was just a week ago, working on some seminars for the upcoming SeattleBoatShow.com.
Yes,
the Neils.
yes.
I saw the Neils in studio. I was checking out the digs, and I thought that looked quite professional. If people didn't know any better.
Yeah, we've been recording left and right, and so have the Landons. They're going to join us in a moment. And
they couldn't help themselves. Yeah, they couldn't wait.
Happy New Year! And they've also been recording their whole seminar on cruising in Southeast Alaska. John and Amanda Neal, who were on the show a couple of weeks ago, they were doing their presentation along with our guest tonight, Pete McGonigal. And we've got all kinds of things. In fact, I was in the studio yesterday recording all day, and we recorded a guy who's also going to be presenting, and I recommend you put him on your boat show. And Carl Kruger. And Carl, I'm going to try to get him on the show next week. Carl has the distinction that he went in the race to Alaska on a stand-up paddleboard from Port Townsend to Victoria, and then Victoria all the way up to Ketchikan in 2 weeks. Wow. This is a guy we're going to have some fun talking to. He had some experiences.
Yeah, I saw him. He was profiled in the Alaska Race to Alaska documentary.
Yes. Great guy. A lot of experience on cruising to Alaska, because he's done this by various different boats and deliveries. But doing it by paddleboard, stand-up paddleboard, that is quite a feat.
Yeah, so, beats to his own drum, it seemed like.
I don't think so. I'm looking forward to having him on the show. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I hope our viewers have plenty of questions on the chat line, which, by the way, tonight, please, if you have questions for our guests or for Peter, myself, or the Landon, throw it up on the chat line. We love to interact with our viewers. Hey, Peter, I got a little Christmas present for you. It's a little delayed. Something special.
What did you do, Mark?
Myself. Well, I found these Wagner
kind of hard to see,
guides,
but yeah, I'm making it out.
But right here, I'll pass it through. Here you go.
Oh, wow. Well, look, that's how it's done. Yeah, that only took us about 4 weeks to figure out. That's excellent. The miracle of the U.S. Postal Service. And congratulations.
So now you can. The one thing I worry when I give you a Wagner cruising guide is, do you re-gift it to your father-in-law?
Well, he's a big fan of the spiral bound, and who's not? I mean, this is really an added feature that keeps life much easier. A little less friction opening up the Wagner cruising guide.
Well, yeah, and we've got a lot of new things in there. The Landons did an extensive section on cruising in Southeast Alaska, and so it really, they put a lot into it. It reads beautifully. And I think it'll encourage a lot of people to consider that trip.
Well, I know that there's a lot of this that's going to be featured in the Seattle Boat Show that we talked about, but I did want to let folks at home know that tickets are now live, and the tickets are flying out the door, selling like hotcakes, and we're calling them registrations. The tickets level starts at $5 and goes up to $89. At the $5 level, it gets you into the show and lets you take advantage of the different boating and fishing seminars. And then at the higher level packages, you can take advantage of the Boat Show University classes that Mark was showcasing there. So yeah, we're selling tickets. We'll have 200 at least right now we're about 200 exhibitors and about 500 boats with countless accessories as well. Our NMTA members are busily, that's a word, loading up their three-dimensional images. We've got a treasure hunt in store. We've got Ivers gift cards will be given away during the show for the treasure hunt participants. We've got I'd like to say real life pirate ship, but it's like using the word literally wrong. It's a three-dimensional pirate ship. We've got a bunch of places to take selfies that you can share on social media. Bottom line is a whole bunch of fun is in store January 28th through 31st, Mark, but that doesn't mean you need to wait till then, Mr. Bunzel, to start shopping for that new boat.
That's right. We're going to have some of the boat booths are going to be open starting this weekend, and people can preview some of the things on the boat show, on this virtual boat show. And I don't even think they need a ticket for that, or do you have to buy a ticket for the early view?
You're gonna want a ticket, and we're calling it a preview sneak peek at this point, or at least that's what I'm calling it. But yeah, you don't need to wait till January 28th to get familiar with the show. So yeah, hop in there, get familiar with the show, have fun, walk in the red carpet that you'll see there, and away you'll go into a land of fun.
And I've been impressed. I've been watching the numbers of the ticket sales, and when I first heard of the $89 ticket, I thought it was a great value because it includes all the boat show university presentations, which normally are $40 each, and this is all you can view. And at that level, you can view it after the show's over for the next 2 weeks. So, but what impressed me is it's the second fastest selling ticket. And and I should throw in, you also get a Wagner guide with that ticket, as well as a registration for Boat US, and what else is in there? There's a couple things in there.
You can watch the pre-recorded.
I
get that wrong. You can get to watch the recorded episodes of Boat Show University.
Right.
Get you a ticket to next year's show.
That's
it's right. A laundry list of goodies.
I think something at West Marine also, wasn't there?
I don't know if that actually came to fruition.
Oh, I should.
Cut. Well, don't worry. We'll edit that out before we show this.
We'll edit that. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of the seminars, I was on the water today with Chef Ethan Stoll, and this is one of those days, Mark. I don't know if you saw the sun. The sun was out. The mountains are out. We were cooking up crab cakes. We were making crab and avocado dip. Ethan was given a 101 and 201 on oysters. So
Peter, how do you get these gigs?
I'm telling you, don't tell.
Food?
Yeah. I was talking to someone in St. Louis today, and he said, "How did you get that job?" And I'm like, I can't tell you. I actually don't know how this all fell into place. But yeah, in St. Louis, the oysters look a little different than they do out here. So it was a blast. And Chef Ethan Stoll will be on every night of the SeattleBoatShow.com show, and I'll be there with my co-host Denise Whitaker of Como 4. We'll have about 80 to 100 guests coming through the turnstile to be on the Seattle Boat Show Connected show. And we're going to cover a whole bunch of topics. I added birding just yesterday. I talked to a professional birder from the Seattle Aquarium. So
great. Fantastic.
Really, really excited, as you can tell. And I'll stop babbling. But
and I think I'll just add to that a little bit. We're going to do our Thursday night show. That would be what, the 28th? No, the 28th. And we'll be doing that 28th or 29th.
It's going to be the night after my birthday, Mark. So that would be the 28th.
Oh, that'll be a special show.
You see how I slipped that in there?
We're going to do the Seattle Boat Show live version with Peter at the Seattle Boat Show. And just so you understand what we're talking about, during the boat show, Peter will be hosting with Denise Whitaker a stream that'll go constantly with all kinds of different guests. He's even scratching the bottom of the barrel and asked me to be a guest, so I'll have to get ready for that one and study up. But that'll go on, but then you'll also have the free seminars going on that you could tune into, and then the Boat Show U seminars if you purchase the higher level of ticket. So lots of activity, and this is a new thing with a virtual boat show. But in our typical NMTA style, we're packing it with content and information. And it's going to be, I'm pretty excited about it. I'm losing sleep over it now because we're doing all the preparation for it, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, we got some national press. I'll put the article in the chat, but yeah, we got some national press from the trade publication Soundings Trade Only. They were bragging about how awesome the show, or we were bragging how awesome the show sounded, and they believed us and wrote an article about how much is in store for folks at home. So yeah.
That's great. That's fantastic.
So what else is going
So,
on?
Landon's, what did you do for the last couple of weeks? You had 2 weeks off. Did you get out and do any boating?
It was nice. Well, yeah, we need to recuperate from our 2 weeks out.
Well, we're
No, we
working
haven't,
on
you know,
working on videos here, but we did get out on the boat. So we took a short trip up to Cypress Island with our extended family here, with our adult kids and grandkids. Took a hike up to Eagle Cliff on Cypress Island. Came back. It was gorgeous. It was a couple of days after Christmas. We got a little bit of rain and a little bit of sunshine. There were still a couple of boats out there on the buoys. So there's still activity out there, and our measure of how busy the boating is right here on Burroughs Bay, which we get to look at every day, and Alice Bight, which is on Burroughs Island, and a little tiny Alice Bight. It's kind of off the way, and we always look at that to see whether there's any boats out there. And indeed, over Christmas holiday, there were a couple of boats at anchor out there on different days, which is very unusual for this time of year. So there's still a lot of boats out there. Everybody's having fun. So
yeah, good time to go boating.
it is. It's an excellent time.
Well, so I understand you have some updates for us. There are still things constantly changing and evolving.
Exactly.
yes,
What do you have?
Well, from our BC field correspondents, they sent in a report to let us know that their numbers were trending down. Unfortunately, when they began their Thanksgiving holidays and Christmas holiday, the numbers started going back up. Also report that the local tribal residents apparently had some large gatherings, and that initiated a spread of an event of COVID. So BC has extended their ban on social gatherings to at least February 5.
Okay.
That's the latest there.
Got it. Yeah. So going on, was that it?
Yeah, that's
Okay. So I also wanted to share that on GEOS, which is the International Emergency Response Center, and that the GEOS was recently purchased by Garmin. So Garmin now owns GEOS, which is kind of interesting because, of course, Garmin owns InReach. InReach uses GEOS as part of the emergency reporting. If you push the little SOS button on your InReach, it goes to GEOS. Now, in addition to InReach, of course, there are 16 other satellite device brands that use that same GEOS Emergency Response Center. So it's going to be kind of interesting now that Garmin's world keeps growing a little bit. And there are also another 7 cellular devices that use GEOS. They also, in that purchase, they purchased the assets of GEOS, and they also, this is another one interesting one, which is they purchased the membership. And if for those of us that have personal devices, emergency beacon devices, of course, you have an account with GEOS as well. So it's interesting that Garmin bought that database as well, or the membership piece. Going to be interesting to see what that happens with that. Next one we have is there's a deadline coming up, and that's for it's pump out. It's for the Clean Vessel Act grant, and there's the grant money out there. So if you know a facility, if there's a marina, if there's any kind of facility out there that needs a pump out or needs to upgrade their pump out, the Clean Vessel Act grant period on that, an application for grants ends on February 1st. So contact your nearest marina, your place of wherever you would like to see a pump out facility, and have them contact the Clean Vessel Act. Go ahead and scan on that on Google, and you'll see that. I'll also post on chat a link to that in a minute. And the other one there's a survey, and this survey runs until January 15th, and it's the Washington State Parks Department, and they're considering putting together a guidebook for that they would sell, by the way. So they're considering putting together a guidebook to the state marine parks, and they'd like your input on that. And again, that's through January 15th, and again, I'll post that on the chat for the link to that. And The last one I had was, this was, if you were familiar with these terms, higher ground, space link with a Q, Intelsat, and SatPac, PAC with a Q. And all of these brand names are part of the SatPac satellite messaging system device and service. It's one of the choices you have between inReach and Spot and the satellite messaging facilities. SatPac, by the way, is a pay-as-you-go per message basis. So you buy a pack of messages for anywhere from about 18 cents per message, and you can buy a whole pack of these messages. So again, it's a competitor to those two brands, we'd like some information from you folks. So if there's somebody out there that's using SatPac right now or has some use experience, we'd like to hear from you. And with that, I'll turn it back to Mark that has a related.
Yeah, Leonard, Lorena, and I talked about this, and we're going to dedicate a future show in a month or so on communications. It constantly comes up as an issue, and actually it's going to come up with our guests a little bit, because when people go out for extended cruising, they want to stay in touch, either for work reasons or for keeping in touch with family or for getting information on weather, etc. So it's becoming more important to us as boaters. So we're going to dedicate a show to it and have some guests on the show that know more than we do on this, to talk about it and to talk about the state of the communication. It's growing, it's changing. There's more satellites being launched by companies like SpaceX for communication. And we think there's going to be some real major activity in this area that'll add to our connectivity. I was on the phone with a customer today, and he is going to Alaska next year. And he said, well, assuming the border will be open, and he's saying, I need to continue to work while I'm underway, and I need to be able to do Zoom conferences while I'm on my boat. How can I do that? And I said, well, it's going to be tough today, but stand by. It's changing rather rapidly, and it's going to happen. So
Mark,
we're going to dedicate a show to that.
Yeah, speaking of guests, who are our guests tonight?
Our guests? Oh, yeah, yes. I'm thrilled that we've got, come on up, Pete and Kirsten.
Hey.
Pete McGonigal and Kirsten Wolf. And they have a fascinating story. And this is a continuation of our theme, like we did with the Elizabeth and Sean from MV Freedom, of living the dream and how to do some extensive boating and cruising and really enjoy life on their boat. So Pete and Kirsten, thank you for joining us. Why don't you tell the story of how this all started? I know this was a couple of years back, and you all of a sudden, or both of you who have successful careers and successful businesses, came to a point and said, you know what, now's the time. How did that all happen?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having us. We're excited about the boat show live. And how did it happen? It was quite a few years ago. And we were working, as many people do in Seattle, in the hustle and bustle of the city, and kind of getting tired of the rat race. And you know, I'm a yacht broker. I guess I should fess that up right now.
Well, let's do better than that, Pete. I should have included it in my introduction, but Pete is principal at Swiftsure Yachts. And I think what's significant about that is he has helped so many people buy a cruising sailboat or a cruising boat, and then coach them on leaving the dock and following their dreams. And then go ahead, then you did it.
Yeah. So I got tired of watching everyone else, you know, leave Seattle and head south for the winter in beautiful tropical destinations. And so I told Kirsten, I said, you know, I think it's our time to go and get a boat and go see the world. So we did that in 2000, and late in 2006, we bought our boat in Florida. And we left in the summer of 2007. Our boat named Charlotte was on the East Coast. We bought it in Fort Lauderdale. I went back in, we did a trip to the Bahamas, a crazy trip to the Bahamas in March of 2007 during spring break. Very rushed, frenetic trip, just to kind of get a taste of things and do a shakedown. And then in May, I sailed with some other friends from Seattle. I sailed the boat up to Rhode Island. And then in the summer of 2007, we sold our house. We left our jobs here in Seattle, me at Swiftsure Yachts, and Kirsten in her OBGYN practice, and moved aboard the boat in New England. So that was
Wow.
kind
Now,
of,
did you have kids with you?
yeah. So our son Alden was 5 years old when we left to cruise, just one.
And how did he feel about it? You were tearing him away from his friends at school.
No, I think that was a perfect, I mean, I think that was a perfect age. It was a nice break point for whether he'd go on to first grade or take a little break. And it was a nice, I think, nice timing for us in terms of him being old enough that he could appreciate, couldn't still remember portions of the trip and the travels and the people that we still stay in touch with. And the schooling was not going to be so cumbersome, with regards to homeschooling. So it was a nice break.
So did you do the Calvert homeschooling or one of the others?
No. I did a bit of research. I mean, that was 2007. There's so much more now available. We did Singapore math. I will admit, I did Hooked on Phonics with the whole big cardboard box and went through that. Tons of, I mean, we took a lot of books. We had a boat that was very comfortable. Alden had a gorgeous stateroom. And so we took many, many books, and we trade in at the, used bookstores in Maine, or even when you're abroad or at the different marinas, you can go in and trade in books, used books, and swap them out. We took history books, we took science books, but there's so much, firsthand that you can do, real life experience when you're, in the moment. So that's
Beautiful boat, Pete. I'm sure you could find one of those for me also, couldn't you?
We could try.
How much was involved with finding the right boat and then getting her ready?
Well, good question, because that's kind of my job, right? Is finding boats for people. And I did the classic, which was we had set a budget at the beginning, and I went out to try and find the best boat we could get for the money that Kirsten said, okay, here's what I'm comfortable allocating to purchase the boat. And so that's kind of how we approached it. And we didn't really have any plans of where we needed to start, but we found this boat in Florida, and that was a good place. Our family was on the East Coast, and it's a pretty easy place to start sailing.
And describe Charlotte. I understand it's a steel hull vessel. And,
yeah, so she's trying to get the photos up. Oh, there she is. There's the ender bottle. So I found her, like everyone, thinking about going boating. You spend way too much time on yachtworld.com when you should be working. And I saw it advertised as a Dickerson 51. And I saw that it was designed by Bob Perry, our local infamous architect. So I called Bob and I said, hey, Bob, tell me about this boat. And he had to scratch his head for a few minutes. He said, oh, that was a boat I designed for Dr. Dickerson. And he told me who built the boat, Dieter Pollock of Vancouver, who built all the Amazons. And then it was finished in a shed right on Lake Union, right next to where Lake Union Rowing is. Some local shipwrights finished it. So I knew it was a good boat just based on the people that were involved with it. And then flew to Florida and did a survey and sea trial on the boat, and then we bought it.
That's fantastic. I mean, that does seem to be the ideal cruising boat. Does it have a water maker, and what?
Oh yeah, we had all the comforts. So this is a steel boat. It was a custom steel boat, and it had a 12 kilowatt Northern Lights genset. Good, another local manufacturer. We had air conditioning. It had everything. It was really no excuses to not be comfortable.
Interesting.
I'm curious to know about the memories that you created on that boat. I saw this study recently where people were tested during a California bike trip, and 61% said they were not having a great time. But when they look back at it, only 11% remembered not having a great time. Are the memories that you created, even during the stressful times, just extra special and life stories you'll carry for the rest of your life?
Yeah, cruising is exposing yourself to discomfort and then having great moments and memories of pleasure and comfort. But there's a lot of discomfort and work that goes along with it.
Yeah, I would say I describe to patients when I talk to them or friends or family that you have high highs and you have low lows. And when you think about the high highs, for instance, at a key out of Belize, the furthermost key, and you think this is amazing. Someday I'll come back here. And then you realize all that went into getting there in the first place. And you realize probably not in my lifetime will I be able to recreate this. So yeah, there are, again, it's probably like homesteading. There are high highs and low lows and you just kind of have to go with it. But I think speaking as a parent with a child, especially an only, I think that this was really formative in terms of who our child is now, who's 18 and getting ready to head off. Just in terms of how independent he had to be, how he had to interact with other adults. Sometimes we had no other kid boats. And I will say that we still keep in touch with these families that were adults with no children that interacted with him respectfully. And I just think that it was really a good time for growth.
Yeah.
Well, there you see him. That's his high
Love
because
it.
he spotted in the horizon, which was crazy. Where was that?
That was down in
The Bahamas. What is that crazy place?
no, this is down in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, that was different. But anyways, on occasion he would spot with the binoculars some absurd over the top development and we'd realize, oh, I guess we should take you to, Nassau, was it Atlantis. Yes.
Oh,
Right.
Those are high. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it was, I have very, very fond memories. And I also have some memories that I might like to forget.
Yeah, we all have some of those in boating, but I've forgotten them already.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. And I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, this is living the dream, but it can have some challenges. Did you have weather challenges or what kind of challenges were some of your toughest?
So I was trying to synchronize the slides, but that's not working out so well. So I'm gonna have to practice that.
Well, we're enjoying them anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Challenges, weather, strong winds, or I think one of the biggest challenges we had was running aground at Rumkey in the Bahamas, where a local said they would guide us into this marina to get out of this the rolly anchorage, and didn't do such a good job. Where he was saying, "Go to your right," and go right, and it was his right, not our right. And we put the boat on a coral head and sat there banging away in the coral for about 10 minutes until we got off. And luckily, we had a strong steel boat, so it really didn't do any big time damage. So that was
scary.
That was very my stomach was up here, I think, when we got off.
Yeah, that's not living the dream. That's living the nightmare. And we've all done it. We've run aground and it happens. But how about weather? Did you have any hurricanes or anything like that?
No, I think the roughest weather that we had, or really I had, was bringing the boat up to Rhode Island from Fort Lauderdale in May of 2007. Luckily, Kirsten and Alden weren't aboard. That was with this group of friends, and we had a couple big gales go through, and a couple boats that were doing a similar trip actually sank. So it was pretty sobering to know that I'd be exposing the family to that. Well, hopefully, we not doing that kind of weather. I think the biggest wind we had when we were with the family was off the coast of Colombia. Off Colombia, the night before we pulled into Cartagena. Colombia blew up to about 50 to 60 knots for just a few hours, and luckily the wind was behind us.
Yeah, that builds character. I'll admit to that.
Yeah. Well, the Landon spent a few years on the outside of the Puget Sound area. Did you want to jump in with any questions?
Mine was weather too. It's and experiences. I can almost describe every single anchorage that we were in. Is that similar for you? That you have all these things are very vivid memories of places?
Yeah, as I look at the pictures, they come flooding back for sure. And
what is your son when he tells his friends about it? I mean, what are the words that come out of his mouth?
That's a good question. He What do you
Well,
think?
it's
I'll leave it
interesting
to that.
because of young age, and I think initially he may say, I don't remember that, but when you say, oh, well, what about this fort, or what about this family, or what about this market, or this food, or this experience, and then it quickly comes to him. So I think, and he's now a sailor, and considering going to the Coast Guard Academy. So I think this sort of shaped his world to some degree. But I
Yeah.
think weather, I think the one thing that I felt comforting, because Peter is the accomplished sailor. I would not say I was novice going into this. I was comfortable offshore. I have seamanship skills. I can navigate. But I think that what was helpful for me, or reassuring for me, is to have the luxury of time where we weren't pushing ourselves constantly, so that if the weathers didn't look good, that we could be smart about it. And I think that's really important.
So I suspect a lot of people are wondering, could you give a highlight of your route that you took after leaving Rhode Island and taking your way to the Bahamas?
Yeah, we left Rhode Island, and we spent a month or month and a half in Maine, which I would go back in a heartbeat to cruise, off the islands of Maine. And then we headed down south, and our plan was originally to head to the islands right after hurricane season. And unfortunately, I had an event. I had breast cancer. That was kind of all a little sudden and crazy. And so we holed up for 7 months in Norfolk, where my family happened to be, and did all my treatment. And everyone there was wonderful on getting us back aboard the boat. We headed back up to Maine because that's what we wanted to do again. And then we successfully made it to the islands the following November, and then went down through the Thorny Path.
Did the infamous Thorny Path from the Bahamas, because we didn't want to miss the Bahamas. The Bahamas is a pretty special place. We didn't want to miss those and go direct to the Caribbean. So
we talked about that.
We worked against the trade winds to go from the southern Bahamas to the Virgin Islands.
Yeah, but it was worth it. I mean, yeah, there were days we wondered if we made the right choice, but it turned out to be a good choice. And then went down to the Dominican Republic, and then over. Eventually made our way to the Virgin Islands, and then down the chain of islands, and then down to Cartagena. And then as we were down, we sort of picked our route as we went along, because we ran into so many cruisers that could give us goods and bads about different places, and then decided that we wanted to commit some time to the Western Caribbean, which I thought was wonderful. Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, etc. And we decided we really wanted to commit to spending some time going ashore as well, not just sailing and anchoring and moving on, but that we would spend a few days here and there going ashore. And I think that was worthwhile.
And so your 2 years was broken up a little bit by a medical issue with breast cancer, which mighty brave to go through that and go right back out on the water. That's fantastic. And then at one point you were going to go through the Panama Canal, right?
I think that was our original plan, was to do a season in the Caribbean, and then go through the canal and do a season in the South Pacific, and then get back to Seattle or wherever. So we had to cut that short and focus on that season in the Caribbean.
We've got a question.
I think that's the best, a beautiful choice. If I do what you've done, and I hope I get a chance to do it, I could see a year to 2 years in the Caribbean. I cruised to most of those places, but I never had the time like you did to actually, really spend some time and get to know the people and the places. And I think that's fantastic what you did.
Well, most cruisers who have the luxury of time and often are retired will spend seasons in one little area of the Caribbean and San Blas Islands, and another season in the ABCs. And so that's, if you've got that kind of time, that's great.
Yeah.
We've got a question in the chat. I think it's from alumna Elizabeth from Freedom. We're curious to know if their experience proved more or less expensive than what they budgeted before leaving on their trip.
Ooh, that's a good one.
No, I think we stayed within budget. Yeah.
Well, a lot of that was, your budget is blown when you're in port. And if you can get away from the chandleries and the boatyards and the marinas and get out at anchor and shop locally for your food,
Yeah.
then your budget stays low.
What were some of your go-to meals?
Fish.
Yeah, we did a lot of fishing. My son
don't know if
became
you
a
have a
good
picture of the
fisherman.
fish. Yeah, I didn't put the picture of the fish. Yeah, we caught a lot of mahi. We caught one wahoo. Had way more fish than we could eat, which is healthy. Fish and rice.
And that was generally towing your gear behind the boat while you're
Exactly.
underway.
Yeah, exactly. Just towing some big tuna lines, some very heavy test hand lines with some plugs.
If you were going to do it again, what would you do differently?
I don't know. We had such a comfortable boat. I mean, Charlotte was just amazing. And for the three of us, perfect. I will put in a plug. Peter found a washer and dryer that he drove across country on our old station wagon to the East Coast. I loved having that, as that was such a luxury to be able to wash your own clothes. Didn't dry very well, but you could put things on the line and it would quickly. It's just nice not to, sort of be beholden to things you need ashore. And with the water maker was amazing. You could really be anywhere and self-sufficient. And I think that was wonderful to be self-sufficient, because in Maine or in the different islands, you really, you're so self-sufficient, you don't have to be dependent on what's there. It gives you a lot of luxury and freedom.
Interesting.
We've got another question here. Yeah, another question here. Did you have any safety or security concerns in any of the places you cruised in? And I would say, I would add on, as a fellow Seattleite, as compared to living in Seattle these days.
Yeah, sure. But the safety nets on the single sideband, the Caribbean, both the whole Caribbean and then the nets in the areas really kind of keep you informed of what's going on in terms of theft or burglaries or piracy or anything else. So if you just stay informed, you can stay away from those areas and be smart. I think the craziest thing we had happen to us was we were sailing from Guanaja in the Bay Islands of Honduras to Roatan, another island. And in the middle of the night, about 2 hours after sunset, it's pitch dark, and I'm up in the cockpit, and we hear this high-speed boat coming up astern of us with no lights on. And I thought, oh boy, here we are.
And not on the radar.
Not on the radar, and so I took the handheld searchlight that we keep in the cockpit, and I just shined it on this boat, U.S. Coast Guard. So it was a major, oh, thank God that the Coast Guard's out here, looking for drug runners, but checking on us as well.
That's amazing. I've cruised that area off of Honduras, and it's absolutely beautiful. Cayos Cachina is a special place in my memories.
Yep.
I don't know if you made it there.
I think that's not too far from, went out to these outer reefs called Cayo Vivo Rios. I think it's out in the same neck of the woods, kind of off the Nicaragua, Honduras coast.
And security wise, I understand it's gotten a little worse out there. So I would be a little bit more cautious. Honduras is not as safe as it used to be, but it's still just gorgeous sailing.
I was going to ask you, are you looking forward to, or were you looking forward to going through the Panama Canal?
Well, we've both been through the Panama Canal on merchant ships. So, I mean, it would have individually on different merchant ships. I think it would have been, Alden would have found it exciting. I mean, it would have been interesting, but I think it became one of those questions of, are we going to rush, or are we just going to, enjoy and be in the moment? And so, yeah. And I also think with regards to safety, we originally left, like a lot of cruisers, we were planning to go to Venezuela. We were never thought that we'd go to Colombia, because in our mind, that was not safe. And quickly then we learned when we were in the Turks and Caicos and at Anchorage with people who had come up and been out for a year, that actually we ought to rethink our plans, and the tides had changed, and it was not a good idea to go to Venezuela, and it was a good idea to go to Colombia. So we changed pretty quickly just by listening to people and their experiences.
Did you take a dog with you on your trip?
Nope.
No.
Okay, it's like, wow.
No, I would not recommend taking a dog. No.
Fair enough. Did you grow up boating? You both?
I
Peter
grew up
did.
boating. I grew up boating in Rhode Island, actively racing and cruising, and then I'm gonna slide here. Went to sea for, went to the Merchant Marine Academy in New York. Both Kirsten and I did. That's where we met, at Kings Point at the Merchant Marine Academy. So she actually has a professional background as well on the water.
Very nice.
Interesting. Kirsten, I didn't know that. So you practice medicine on some of the ships that you were assigned to?
No. I graduated and I worked shoreside in the maritime industry, and then shipping jobs were not an option. And so I literally jumped ship and went back to school and went into medicine.
Ah, interesting. Fantastic. And when you were as a doctor, I know a number of doctors who've gone cruising, and it's always a real question as to your comfort level of providing medical care when you're in an anchorage. Granted, if it's an emergency, but how did you handle some of that?
I didn't. I've heard there was a couple on Bainbridge that we kept in touch with, that both the husband and wife were really helpful, spent a lot of time with me talking on the phone in terms of outfitting the first aid kit, etc. And they had some pretty harrowing stories. They were out 2 or 3 times with their 3 boys. And we
were
never
lucky.
really ran
Really.
into a scenario like that. I think it's very worthwhile to outfit your medicine kit, your medical kit, and to be thoughtful about it. I think you have to be realistic in terms of what you can really do when you're out, board the boat. Like, can you really sink an IV? Probably not. You realize your limitations. I think going there, that's just my plug as a physician. I think going there without insurance, health insurance, it's probably not a good idea. I mean, it took a lot of work to leave. It took months of preparation for us to get the boat ready, sell the house, get everything packed up, plan to be checked out for 2 years. But I think in the end, find medical insurance, et cetera. I think in the end, it just is the right way to do it, and gives you some comfort zone.
Well, especially with what you went through. I mean, I'm sure being diagnosed with breast cancer, and all of a sudden the medical insurance was incredibly important. I mean, it's obviously our worst fear.
That was back before Obamacare, and where a pre-existing condition could prevent you from getting future medical insurance.
But there's options out there. It's just, it takes a bit of research. It takes a bit of time, but I think it's just such a gamble to leave and say, oh, nothing will happen. I mean, I was 44. Who would have thought that would have happened? That was just, the whole thing was absurd. It was surreal, I will say. And yet it could put you in such a hole financially and physically. And I think a lot of people feel as though they're in the third world, and there's good healthcare, and they have no problem going in and have their dental work and their surgery and then this and then that. But I think when it really push comes to shove, we all have a comfort level. And I was happy that I had, coverage so that I could get the care that I felt was important to me.
We're going to cover first aid kits, Mark, during the Boat Show Connected. We're going to have Dr. Dan Diamond from Bremerton talking about a first aid kit. He's mentioning something about Israeli bandages, which was a new one for me. Dr. Wolf, can you talk about the 10 essentials you'd like to see in a first aid kit?
Oh my gosh, I'm so far remote from that. And I'm in women's healthcare, so I'm going to step up.
You're going to have to tune in for my show.
I'm going to have to tune in for your show.
Yeah.
Do we know what an Israeli bandage is, though? You have my curiosity up.
Mine too. I can't wait to interview him. But no, he's a sailor as well, and he's recommending those for everyone. Everyone's
what are
first
they?
aid kit.
Can you tell us?
I know about as much about as you do, Mark.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll have to watch the show now. You got me.
Exactly.
Watch the
Yeah.
show.
That was it. That of all the teases, that was the one that got you. Good to know. Well, cool. I think that are there any questions in the chat? I think we've covered a lot of it. What haven't we
Well,
asked you that you'd like to share?
I just wanted to add a question. What was it like to come back? You re-immersed. You had sold your home. You had
There's
left
your
your
stuff.
businesses. And what was it like to come back?
Hard. It was much harder than being out cruising, especially we came back in 2009 into the depths of the recession. And yeah, it was hard. I would say it was you know, cruising is a lot of work to get going, but great when you're out there. But re-emerging and going back to work and going back to school and getting in Seattle traffic, it's challenging, and
Yeah.
it's hard.
I mean, we were lucky to come back to jobs, so that was helpful. But yeah, it's a big change of pace, and I think the hardest thing for me was not getting caught back up into the rat race, which you do pretty well for a year or two, and then within 3 years there we were. So yeah, now we have to figure out our next exit strategy.
Yeah. Do you have any trips, kind of medium or long term planned?
Well, our son's getting ready to leave for school, which is a huge thing as an only. So I think we're both deciding we need some sort of exit strategy or something new to switch it up, because it's going to be a different world without it.
Yeah. So more time traveling for us, more time on the water is really what we're after. And that should start happening next year.
Well,
Nice.
Pete, when I was talking to you, you had a very interesting big picture to the time plan of dividing your life up into sections and in chapters almost. And I thought that was brilliant. And it sounds like you've done that. And I guess we're saying, okay, you've done a fantastic chapter in there in the middle. And then, geez, Pete, how can you help me on my next chapter with the right boat and the right place to go?
Well, I can help with that. The right boat. That's what I. That's
Just need a checkbook, right?
Did it help?
I've been
It's a boat that-
introducing the Landons to canal cruising in Europe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's been on my bucket list also of a canal boat in France. And,
That would be amazing.
We did it. We did a bike barge trip a couple years ago, and I could see doing that for a lot longer.
yeah, we did that with the Landons and had a fantastic time. And but I could see doing it. I think we were out for 2 weeks, and I could see definitely doing an entire season. It would be fantastic.
Jim Addington's asking, is there anything you wish you had been more prepared for?
What do you think?
No, I mean, it would have been nice to have more time, and our time was, you know, we lost a few months, but it could have been a lot worse than that. No, I think Peter did an amazing job on the boat. I think we outfitted it well. I think we had, you know, the comforts that were wonderful. No, I don't think I would have done it differently. And I don't think I would have, I know people travel all over the world, but I felt comfortable at the pace that we moved at, to enjoy it, and not feel like we were, you know, rat race on the water.
I think a real quick one. The only thing I would do differently to the boat was solar panels.
Yeah.
Because one of the things we were reliant on our genset, and we left the boat in Anchorage in Puerto Rico to go travel inland for 4 days. We came back, and just leaving the refrigerator on and some lights on, the batteries were dead, and it killed our AGM batteries. We had to get new batteries. So solar panels, so that it can keep up with your refrigeration if you want to leave your boat at anchor for a few days.
Where's Charlotte now?
She's in Squim.
Yeah.
She's now named the My Turn, in the good hands of the person we sold her to out in Squim, out at John Wayne Marina.
And a question I have related to that. So you have this home on the water, Charlotte, and I'm sure you bought it well. What was the difference when you sold it? Were you able to get a similar amount to what you bought it for?
Well, if you don't factor my time into it, we lost. Well, let me think of that. We bought a boat that was in average condition and made it look like it was brand new. We sold it in the boat show how many years ago? In 2011, in the January Seattle Boat Show. I put it in the boat show down on Lake
Works.
Union.
It did work.
And people
One
would
day.
come on that 20-year-old boat and they said, is this a new boat? It looked that good and was that good. So we took a boat in average condition and through great sweat and toil and a little bit of contract work, we made the boat look like it was brand new to bring it back to its original splendor. So did I make money? No, you never make money on a boat, right?
I wasn't setting you up to say that. Thank you for your honesty.
I tell customers, every now and then a customer will talk about a boat and they'll say investment. I say, no, don't even put it in the same paragraph. This is not, a boat is not an investment. There are better choices than the others, but it's not an investment. It's a means to go out and enjoy your life in a beautiful setting and have some freedom.
That's the investment.
And fun, yes.
That's right.
Investment and fun.
Right.
Leonard, did you want to get in here with a question?
I was just going to comment on the, it's an investment in time.
Yes, maintenance.
Well, one question here is how much time did you spend in each location? Did you spend days or did you spend weeks?
It depended. I mean, the San Blas Islands, we spent a week, which was amazing for that small area. In Cartagena, we spent about 5 or 6 days. In Guatemala, up in Rio Dulce, we spent about a week. Puerto Rico, when we first got there, I thought, well, let's just keep moving on because we're in a hurry to get. And someone said, no, you should go ashore. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. And so we dropped the anchor and we went ashore for 4 days and traveled, and it was wonderful. So it was, and sometimes, the weather, like you asked, factors in because you get excited you're going to be somewhere for a day or 2 or 3. And then Peter hears the weather and comes down and says, all right, so these are our choices. We either get stuck here for a week or you guys stop schooling, we pack everything up and we leave like in 3 hours. So there was that, sometimes there were those scenarios that it was, disappointing and you had to wrap your head around it. But in the end, I think we made good choices, about moving on and, you just kind of have to roll with it. It's a balance.
John Crace is wondering if you only had one place to go back to, where would it be?
What would your choice be?
I
It's
love
like the newlywed game here.
I love Maine. I love the coast of, it's just gorgeous.
Maine in the summer is tough to beat.
Yeah. I love the San Blas. I loved Guatemala and going up the Rio Dulce, and it was just beautiful.
I think if you just want beautiful tropical islands, the Bahamas again are tough to beat. The water's so clear. There's so many great little anchorages, and it's just easy living.
Nice.
And for those who are worried about long distance cruising, the Bahamas is very easy to get to.
Yes, it is. It's just a quick.
It's just a day.
It's a quick overnight sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas.
Right.
Well,
Landons, do you have any other contrast to the long cruising you've done?
It's the difference between Mexico and so I'm listening intently because that's been on our bucket list as well. And our original plan was to cruise Mexico, and then in Cabo San Lucas, where we're going to make that big decision about turn left or turn right to go home. And we decided to come back up here with the intent to buy a different boat, kind of what you did, instead of bringing the Northwest boat and taking a Northwest boat with a lot of heat and no air conditioning all the way over to Florida didn't seem very wise. So we still have it on our bucket list. So we're listening intently, and and your pictures are wonderful. So that's the main one. It's takeaways for us mainly. But also, my question was, when you sold everything, and we went through a similar process, it was great for clearing things out and reducing. Was that the size of the house scaling down? Did that work for you folks, or did you put a lot of stuff in storage and then come back to it?
We've moved so many times together ourselves, so we're pretty good at purging. But we had a 10x8 storage shed up in Anacortes, and it was full to the brim. But we sold the house, and we really cut all ties such that we didn't have to keep in touch. We didn't, everything we did on auto pay. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't really need to communicate much. So it took a good month I took 1 full month packing up the house while Peter was still working and getting everything dispositioned. But it was so liberating then to move aboard and just have what you need, you know, to be a minimalist.
Yeah, we one of the things that surprised me was how much, not effort, but just you had to do a lot of planning for some of the simplest things. Who's going to take care of the mail while you're gone? Because somewhere you have to have a mailing address somewhere. And some of these simple things. Did you have some help with that, or how did you arrange for that?
We had my sister, wasn't, like I said, we did everything auto pay. We paid years or two. We mainstreamed as much as we could. And then my sister had power of attorney. And then literally, maybe we spoke to her every few months and she could sign. But again, we did as much as we could do so that no one else would have to. And it was only my sister doing that for us. But I thought it was wonderful because I was amazed the number of cruisers in the different locations we were that spent, I mean, this is back when people didn't spend hours waiting for use of the cell phone at the marina in Cartagena, etc., because they were renting house or they had this transaction, and it just seemed like such a waste of time. I think as much as you can cut, throw off the lines and simplify, I think is amazing, because for us, that was the whole reason we were doing that, it was liberating.
I think that is, out of this show, the best advice I've heard, because I think everybody worries about that, about purging and getting rid of things and how much can they really simplify. And you really amplified that. And I really appreciate that of communicating that that's the key to really enjoying it. And thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
And what a thrill. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah,
and pictures. The pictures are great.
Yeah, there's so many families, particularly from the Pacific Northwest, that are out there doing it. Both retired people and kids, people with children, or young couples, or just out of school. There's so many great resources out there. There's people that do professional coaching, like Jamie and B and Gifford on Totem, or provide wonderful coaching service to people who want to do it and learn quickly. One of the challenges, there's almost too much information out there on the internet and too many blogs and things, so you can get overwhelmed and distracted with information. So sometimes going to a great focus source like the Giffords on Totem is a very smart thing to do if you're really truly committed to making this happen.
And you do this with John and Amanda Neal and coach people on the acquisition of boats and how to do it.
Yeah, I've been doing that for over 15 years with John and Amanda, helping them with their cruising seminars, and we're doing it virtually this year. They're doing their training expeditions, renting a boat with San Juan Sailing at Garcia Exploration 45, and doing their expeditions, which is another great tool to get people the knowledge they need to go out and do some cruising.
Good point. And so there are resources there. And Kirsten, I really agree with your point that if you dig too much on the internet, you can get information overload and conflicting information.
Yeah, I think that I look back, it was 2007, so the internet isn't what it is now, and I am a minimalist, and I'm not an IT guru. I read 2 or 3 books, like Embarrassment of Mangoes and 1 or 2 other books written by women who had cruised. And then I reached out to a family or 2 that I'd been introduced to, and they were wonderful, had some phone calls, and just really picked their brain. And I thought that was enough information to get me started. And then I think it's really up to you. I think it's really up to the family, the couple, because everyone's unique. Everyone's circumstances are unique. Everyone's comfort level is unique. And I think too much nowadays, I think that would be overwhelming. But I think, it's like in medicine, you get to a point where you've got enough data, and then you just have to, make of it what you will.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing is you got to take the plunge and do it.
Yes, you do. You have to do it. There are so many people who thought we were not sane. And then there were so many people that were very supportive and very excited for us. And I think they were the best. And, when we got cold feet of saying, oh gosh, this is great. We wish you were doing it. And then you just almost had to do it for them.
I understand. Well, we're just about out of time, but we really want to thank you for coming on board. I know I'm going to go to bed tonight thinking about where my cruise is going to be. And Landon's, I may not be there next Monday morning for the Wagner Guide, so just to let you know.
It's
But,
so inspiring. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
I know. It is inspiring. And Peter, we're just about out of time.
Yeah,
here.
we're holding up our guests from their dinner. But I want to say thank you everyone at home for watching. Mark, we had a few questions about the Wagner Cruising Guide for those folks, those good hearts that contribute to the Lake Bay Marina project. Do you know the
Yeah,
timing for
I
that?
understand those books are being shipped this week, at the worst case next week, but that's in process right now. The good, bad news is we've been inundated with orders where we had a lot of concerns due to COVID as to whether people would want to buy the Wagner. They're buying it in droves. Same with ports and passes. So people are getting ready. They want to go north. Many want to go south. We've talked about South Sound and so forth, but they want to get out there and go boating. The enthusiasm for boating is just really unbelievable.
Yes.
And for those of us who work in the industry, thank God. I think Pete would agree with that.
Yeah.
And just to put in another plug, we've got plenty of education and seminars through the Seattle Boat Show this year for answering many of those questions that people have, and including the Behans are going to be speakers. John and Amanda, Pete, you'll be there. The Landons, I'll be presenting. So all of us are more than willing to share our information with you. So I think that covers it. We're going to have a great show next week. I'm working on a special guest. I'll tease to it. I don't know if he'll be on next week or after that, but I ran into somebody the other day who took their stand-up paddleboard and joined the Race to Alaska and did a 2-week paddle all the way up from Port Townsend, Victoria to Ketchikan, Alaska in 2 weeks.
I heard he's going to race you, Mark, on the show. I don't know. That should be exciting. That would be entertaining. No offense.
Yeah. Well, he certainly spent a lot less on fuel than I did. So anyway.
Love it.
We've got all kinds of shows we're lining up, though, for this year. And we thank you all for tuning in. And please keep your questions and comments coming and suggestions for future shows. And Pete and Kirsten, enjoy dinner. Thank you again for joining us. It was really terrific.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you all.
Lorena, do you want to get in on this?
We don't want to forget to thank our sponsor for.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping the lights on. Thank you, Lorena.
Gene Grossbeck Group, Realtors and Anacortes, just they have the answers to those of you who don't want to leave the dock and go off on that great cruise. Gene Grossbeck and her associates have some great homes, water view homes, docks, waterfront homes up in the Anacortes area, or they can help you in other areas. And business is booming in that area, just like the boating business, where people want to get away from the big cities and get away into beautiful locations. So give Jean and her associates a call if you have an interest in that.
Excellent. Well, this is episode 30 for us, Mark. Who would have ever guessed we've made it this far?
Yeah, well, they haven't pulled the
they're trying. There's actually a letter campaign. There's all kinds of action alerts to get rid of us. But this episode would have been hosted by Buck Henry had it been at Saturday Night Live. He's a famous comedian. And then the musical guest was the band, and the song they played was "Last Train Out of Georgia."
Wow. How apropos
Georgia in the
for
news.
tonight.
Exactly. Well, let's take the last train out of this one. What do you say, Mark?
I think we've killed it.
Overstayed our welcome once again. That's how we do things. All right, everybody. Well, good night. Thank you for watching.
Everybody. Good night. Thanks.